Well, hi and welcome to Edison Light Globes. I'm Phil Greenwood, and today I thought what we might do is have a look at our range of cast ceiling roses and what they do, what they're for, how they work, and what level of complexity that you can use them for. So the first question is really, for most people, what is a ceiling rose and what's it for? Because we do have a lot of people ask, do I need a ceiling rose? Now the key is that a ceiling rose is designed to sit obviously on a ceiling substrate or a wall. If it's a wall mounted light, it's meant to isolate the wiring from the light fitting. So the idea is that the wiring or the light fitting doesn't pull on its connection, and this will isolate that. So we manufacture a range of cast fittings along with a whole range of other brass fittings. The cast fittings are all the same casting. They're all designed to fit in the same way. We make them in brass. This is a self-coloured brass. This is a polished brass version. We also have in aluminium, which can be polished to some degree or not polished, left neat. We also can paint in an antique brass, a bronze. We can paint in a black, and usually the painted surfaces go over what is a standard cast iron original. So these are branded, and they have a set of screws that come to match as best we can the colour of the fitting that we're using. So essentially there's two different types of ceiling roses, two or three different types, and the first one would be to take a cable. And so when we're just hanging a cable from a ceiling rose, what we need to do is attach something like a cord restraint that will stop the weight of the cord being pulled out of its electrical fitting. Now, I've got to try and get this on the right way backwards without my glasses on. It's always a bit difficult, but the cord grips we use are a high quality brass cord grip. Once we get this cable into where it's got to go, so this cable would be connected to its electrical connection in the ceiling. This then would be pushed in, and we do up the cable grip, which grabs the cable and will stop anything from pulling this electrical connection loose. So that's a cable grip or cord grip ceiling rose. So the other alternative for fittings that are really heavy is to attach a hook. Now a ceiling rose hook obviously is for something like chain or stainless steel cable. And what this does is allow the cable to be inserted, but because the cable's not under load, the hook takes the load. So we can do the hooks in, as I say, brass, painted, cast iron, aluminium, whatever. So they'll match whatever job you want to do. One of the very important things for us, because we supply lighting into a range of different markets, countries, voltages, we do need to have these work in a way that's suitable for both 240 volt, like Australia, United Kingdom, Europe, New Zealand, a whole lot of places, essentially everything except North America. All those countries will use a connection above the ceiling, and for that there's just a connection to electrical connectors. That's all that's required. In North America, which you're probably aware, you may not be aware, there's always a requirement for a junction box. So the junction box will sit above the ceiling, and what we've done is make a special plate that we use that will connect to that junction box, and then our ceiling plate will screw into, screw into this plate separately. I can screw one in and show you what that looks like. So this is the wrong colour. So what we end up with is for 120 volts in North America, we end up with a ceiling plate that looks exactly the same but connects slightly differently. So it will bond correctly to the junction box. I haven't done that up, so it'll just come out now. Now we use the same ceiling plate in 240 volts locations, and what this does in that situation is give you a good chance of bonding with a whole lot of holes to bond into any surface, be it plaster, timber, or anything. You can usually get screws somewhere in this plate to adhere to the ceiling plate. Once that's adhered, you can then screw to this plate, which is a good thing. So it gives you a really strong bond. The other thing we have been working on, because we've been asked, is occasionally where the ceiling is concrete, or where there's a wall that's brick, we're trying to use a surface mounted junction box, and this is for 240 volt, 120 volt, doesn't matter. This takes 10 mil conduit, and again we have holes in there that take, this one doesn't fit, I've got that wrong. This will take that fitting directly, so this can be wide surface. What?
20 mil conduit.
What did I say?
10 mil.
Oh, it's 20 mil, yeah, 10 mil. Anyway, 20 mil conduit, and therefore it will attach to any regular conduit surface mounted system. So these are cast specifically to match our cast brass, aluminium or cast iron ceiling plates. Now the other interesting thing about this fitting is that we start this fitting, again for other reasons, we start it with a 1/2 inch BSPT TP, British 1/2 inch pipe thread. What that means is that this can also be used to attach regular water pipe, plumbing pipe, tight. So we can wire through this for a light fitting that's got a pipe fitting connection, and that could be black steel, it can be brass, it can be gal, it can be any fitting that requires a 1/2 inch pipe mount, and this will provide a solid base for that plumbing pipe light fitting, whether that's in the ceiling or whether it's on the wall. So it'll give you a number of screws to hold wall lights in position. It's fantastic for larger lights where you do need a strong bond. And the other thing we do is provide, and I've got to find it, here it is. We have another part of this system, which is basically it's a pipe fitting to a brass fitting. So we would screw that in and attach then a coupler that can then allow us to attach, excuse me, what is 5/8 inch brass thread. It has a very different thread. It's made essentially for higher quality, less rustic fittings, but it will provide a connection to brass thread. So that can be a 5/8 inch brass thread or a 1/2 inch brass thread. Either way, you'll get a strong bond and a neat finish on the ceiling with a lot of weight carrying capacity. So I think I've just about covered everything. It's fairly obvious that these are very flexible, and they're available obviously worldwide and can be used in any country. We have a range of colours that we can paint them in, but of course you can always get cast iron and paint it whatever colour you like. But there are a lot of different parts that we supply. If there's any questions, if anybody is planning to use these, they can always contact us about what it is their project that they're doing, whether these are applicable or not. And so they should always be in stock and they should always be available. So I hope that's been of some use. Probably in the next video we might actually look at other ceiling roses and why they're used and what they're used for. But for the moment, thanks for watching. If you like the show, if you like this video, please subscribe. Just let us know in the comments below if you've got any questions. But I'll see you again when next we do a video. Thanks. Bye.